Welcome to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. The Bible tells one big story of redemption, and we want to spend 5 minutes every day journeying through the Bible from start to finish and exploring how all of it points to Jesus. Hey everyone, welcome back to A Year in the Bible with Daily Grace. My name is Aubrey Coleman, one of the hosts for the podcast, and today we're looking at 1 Kings chapters 19 through 22. The prophet Elijah was not able to revel long in the mountaintop of God's monumental display of power through him on Mount Carmel. Shortly after, Queen Jezebel heard of the news and ordered for Elijah to be killed. And even after he witnessed God's hand over him, Elijah fearfully ran for his life. He eventually found himself in complete despair. He questioned his purpose and asked God to take his life. God responded to Elijah with an angel who provided food and nourishment and encouraged Elijah to sleep in preparation to go to Mount Horeb. There, the voice of God meets him and asks an all-encompassing question, "What are you doing here?" To which Elijah shares his disappointment as a zealous prophet of God who has been let down. He was struggling and frustrated. So God presented himself in a supernatural way to Elijah with fire, earthquake, and winds to really get Elijah's attention. Let's just say after all of that, Elijah was paying attention. And in a still small voice, God presented Elijah with a new commission and a renewed perspective. Following this encounter, Elijah carried out the Lord's commission by calling and mentoring Elisha as his prophetic successor, who would step into Elijah's place when he was gone. Even after many Israelites turned from Baal worship, there were still many who did not. Chapter 19 wraps up by redirecting to God's pronouncement of judgment to come on Baal worshippers in Israel through the king of Aram. So the concluding chapter of 1 Kings shows this unfolding. The current king of Aram at that time was Ben-Hadad. He sent a message to King Ahab asking for all of his gold, silver, wives, and best children. Initially, King Ahab gave in, but Ben-Hadad kept demanding more. This turned into a battle between the two kings. God was merciful by sending a prophet with a promise of victory for King Ahab, and we see those victories eventually happen. Ahab could have responded in gratitude to the Lord, but he used the victories to glorify himself instead of God. After Ben-Hadad was weak in defeat, King Ahab disobeyed God and used his position to actually release Ben-Hadad for his own political gain. This action revealed King Ahab's true, unchanged heart and created an aftermath of events, including the message of a prophet saying that King Ahab and his people would come to ruin. The closing chapter of the book of 1 Kings involves King Ahab of Israel asking King Jehoshaphat of Judah to join him in a battle against Syria. Jehoshaphat wanted to know what was the Lord's will. In hopes of providing an answer, King Ahab gathered up 400 prophets to ask what he should do, and all of them declared that the Lord would help them win the war. However, there was one prophet of the Lord that was not present, Micaiah. Jehoshaphat needed to know his thoughts, so a messenger was sent to retrieve him. Though he was encouraged to fall in line with the other prophets, Micaiah shared that Israel would be scattered on the hills like sheep without a shepherd. Not exactly the kind of prophecy you want to hear. Because Ahab didn't like it, he threw Micaiah in prison and went to battle anyway. Surely enough, just as Micaiah prophesied, Ahab died in battle, and his men left the battle like sheep without a shepherd. The last line of the book of 1 Kings showed us what the kings and people of Israel had become following the reign of David. They angered the Lord and continually misrepresented and rejected God. You would think God would just put an end to Israel. You would think his mercy would have run out. You would think his patience would have worn thin. You would think he would have grown tired of trying to turn his people back to himself. But the story of the Bible shows us that God never grew tired, and his mercy never ran out. He made a covenant promise to deliver his people, and he would stop at nothing, even in light of their rebellion, to fulfill it. We can't ever run so far that God's mercy can't reach us. We can't ever fall so far that his grace can't redeem us. Even today, we are offered the same patient and merciful acceptance by God through salvation in Jesus Christ, the fulfillment of that promise. Thanks so much for joining us today. Be sure to follow along on our Instagram pages at Daily Grace Podcast and at The Daily Grace Co. And check out our website, www.thedailygraceco.com, for all kinds of resources that can help you dive deeper into God's Word. You can always find resources to accompany the podcast at dailygracepodcast.com. And if you enjoyed today's podcast episode, could you go to iTunes and leave us a rating or a review just so that more people could find out about our show? Thanks so much, and we look forward to chatting again with you tomorrow.